you know what? I just don't want to ruin it.
Mr. or Mrs.
Let's
McDonald.
Let's go. Yeah, thank you.
Mathanga.
That's better. Are loot boxes in a single-player game necessary? We're seeing a lot more of these now.
No.
Shadow of War.
I was about to say, this stemmed from a lot of people over the weekend. Shadow of War has single-player microtransactions and loot boxes that
Some of them give you XP.
They're totally reasonable.
Yeah, a lot of folks in the office are very upset about that.
Sarcasm, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a precedence that we're going to see more and more going forward. I personally have zero interest in ever purchasing a thing like this. That said, whether I want to like condemn it to hell or not depends on when I play the game. If I feel like, man, my progress is really being curbed unless I pay money, that's when I get pissed.
It's also how aggressive it is. Like, Skylanders Imaginators had loot boxes for gear, and it would prompt you to buy it all the time.
Yeah.
And I got annoyed. And there was one point where I just pressed A enough times through something, and I ended up in the store. Like,
And that to me is super gross because that's a game clearly aimed at kids.
That's
So, like,
exactly why
that's
they did it.
disgusting. Yeah.
Here's the thing. If you guys don't like this, you need to stop buying them in Overwatch and buying them in Destiny and all these games that are doing it, because they're looking at the business model of these other companies and saying, wow, that's hugely lucrative from them. Look at their earnings call. Look how much money they made from those microtransactions. We need a version of that.
I don't
Yeah, but-
necessarily agree with that because it's
People
different
are
in
buying it.
multiplayer.
People are buying it.
But in a game like Overwatch or
You're trying to show off the
PUBG,
way that
it's
I'm not
aesthetics.
arguing-
It's
I'm not-
aesthetic based. It's
Yes.
not changing the
Gameplay.
actual flow of the game, which these are.
So I'm not arguing whether or not it's right. I'm saying why it's happening. It's happening because companies are
they make
looking
money.
at the business
Yeah.
model. It's making them a ton of money because everybody's buying them. Shadow of War, it sounds really gross.
Yeah.
I'm not going to like give them a pass.
I mean, there's two sides to this. One is that it's optional, right? And I always think of that if it's there and I don't have to do it and it doesn't hinder my progress, I'm kind of okay with it. But the second side of that is that marketing is always there to make you buy stuff. So no matter what, the game is going to be designed around the idea that it wants you to buy microtransactions, and that's pretty gross. It's not what I want out of Shadow of War, nor do I think it needs it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm glad they're getting the backlash because hopefully they change their thought process on what they're doing with the product right now. Because this is gross. Don't do that.
Yeah, I would be willing to guess that there are more than a fair share of developers who are putting this stuff in aren't on board with it. That it's a thing that comes down from on high that says, hey, we need to monetize the game.
Yeah.
This spreadsheet says this is the way to do it, so you're doing it. But I kind of look at these as, and not that I'm just going to roll over and let it happen. Voicing your concern is important, but I feel like these are kind of not necessary, but they're an evil we're stuck with for a while because
Companies need to make money.
I want good single player games because we're seeing. I don't know if we're literally seeing fewer of those, but it feels like we're seeing fewer and fewer single player focused.
It feels like
games.
that because it's that once every 6 months we're so glad that Wolfenstein is just focusing on the single player, as opposed to it being a given.
Yeah, you're totally right. So I want more good single player driven, narrative driven games, and if this is how those can get made in the current marketplace, in the current economic reality of the games industry, I guess it's either that or not having the games at all. So I don't know. But you're totally right, Alana. It's just there is a line, and it's a tough line to walk.
Is this
anybody.
the film industry equivalent of product placement everywhere in a movie? Of like, man, I'm really glad a thing like Get Out was able to get made, even though it was clearly funded a lot by Microsoft because everyone was using like Surfaces and
I mean,
like
games have
a Windows Phone.
product placement as well.
Yeah, but a thing like Shadow of War can't.
You could put Duracell batteries in there.
I almost feel like it's maybe the better analogy would be movies in 3D. Like this is our 3D phase where everybody's like, yeah, you got to pay the extra $4 to go see it in 3D because it's cooler that way.
But it's not even cooler. That's the problem.
Well,
we know that now.
Yeah, exactly.
Microtransactions and 3D aren't
in both
cooler.
cases. But I think we'll get to the point where we'll evolve past this. This is just sort of the moment in time we're in right now.
I hope so.
Well, companies have identified that this makes them a ton of income. Like this is a good way to get more money out of consumers because
They wouldn't do it if they couldn't.
I mean,
make
the
money.
Overwatch
TIs
costumes
next week,
are
right?
awesome.
Like, this week. International is this week. And it's like that is largely funded by people who are spending money on minor things like microtransactions. And like that's what
Weirdos
that is.
like Mitch.
If you want
It's like
to
Mitch
go
and
away,
Miranda.
you got to stop buying them, unfortunately.
I'm Ryan McCaffrey, host of Unlocked. If you enjoyed that little breakout segment, be sure to check out the full episode on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/IGNUnlocked. Like, subscribe, share, all the usual stuff, and or check us out on your favorite podcast service as well.